There are moments in life when you feel small, overlooked, as if something inside you is waiting, silent, untapped, unseen. You pray, you hope, you search, but still, there's a question echoing in your soul. Is there more to me than this? Let me tell you something today, with calm assurance and burning conviction. Yes, there is more, much more. Because the God who created the heavens and the earth did not design you to live powerless, defeated, or ordinary. No, He placed something deep inside of you. A hidden power, a divine potential, a spiritual authority that most people go their entire lives without ever discovering. I remember a story of a man who lived in poverty for years. He struggled every day, barely surviving, believing he had nothing. But when he passed away, they found that hidden beneath his floor was a fortune, wealth he had been living on top of his entire life, yet never used. And as I reflect on that, I realize that man is so much like many believers today. You are not empty. You are not weak. You are not forgotten. You are carrying something powerful inside of you, but nobody taught you how to use it. Tonight, we are going to uncover it, not with noise, not with confusion, but with clarity, faith, and the gentle leading of the Spirit. And when you see it, when you truly understand what God has already placed within you, your life will never be the same again. There is something important you must understand before you can ever walk in true spiritual strength. And it begins with this truth. The power within you is not your own. It does not come from your background, your education, your status, or your natural ability. It does not come from how confident you feel or how strong you appear on the outside. This hidden power has only one source. It comes from God. Many people spend their lives trying to build themselves up, trying to become stronger by their own effort, their own wisdom, their own striving. And when life becomes heavy, when challenges rise, when pressure increases, they find themselves exhausted, empty, and discouraged. Why? Because human strength has limits. Human ability can only go so far. But the power that comes from God has no limit, no boundary, no restriction. Inside of you as a believer, God has already placed supernatural. It is not visible to the natural eye, but it is real. It is alive. It is active. It is the very life of God working within your spirit. You may not always feel it, you may not always recognize it, but its presence does not depend on your emotions. It depends on God's promise. Think about this. The same God who spoke light into darkness, who created the heavens and the earth, who formed life out of nothing, has chosen to place His Spirit within you. That means there is a divine connection between you and Him that goes beyond what you can see or understand. This is not ordinary. This is not common. This is sacred. But here is where many people miss it. They look at themselves and say, I am not strong enough. I am not smart enough. I am not capable enough. They measure their lives by their own limitations. They focus on their weaknesses, their failures, their past mistakes. And in doing so, they ignore the truth of what God has already placed inside them. You must shift your perspective. You must stop looking at yourself as the source and start recognizing God as the source. Because the moment you believe that everything depends on you, you will feel pressure. You will feel fear. You will feel the weight of trying to control everything. But when you understand that the power within you comes from God, something changes inside your heart. There is a calm confidence. There is a quiet strength. There is a deep assurance that you are not alone. This is not about pride. This is not about saying, look at me, look how powerful I am. No, this is about humility. This is about saying, God, without you I am nothing, but with you I have everything I need. It is about surrendering your limitations and allowing His strength to work through you. There are moments in life when you will face situations that are bigger than you. Situations that seem impossible. Situations that make you feel weak and uncertain. In those moments, you have a choice. You can rely on your own understanding, or you can lean into the power that God has already placed within you. The hidden power of God inside you is not something you have to create. It is something you must recognize. It is something you must believe in. It is something you must allow to flow through your life. And this begins with understanding that it is not yours, it is His. When you truly understand this, you stop striving and you start trusting. You stop forcing and you start flowing. You stop depending on your limited strength and begin to walk in His unlimited power. And even in your quiet moments, even when no one else sees, there is something within you that remains steady, unshaken, and strong. This power does not come and go. It is not temporary. It is not based on circumstances. It is rooted in God Himself. And because God does not change, the source of your power does not change either. You may feel weak at times, but the power within you is not weak. You may feel uncertain, but the power within you is not uncertain. You may feel like giving up, but the power within you does not give up. It remains constant, faithful, and ready to work in your life the moment you begin to trust its source. And when you begin to see yourself not as the origin of power, but as a vessel of God's power, everything begins to shift. Your mindset changes, your faith grows, your confidence deepens, not in yourself, but in the one who lives within you. You begin to realize that you are not walking through life alone, trying to figure everything out by yourself. You are carrying something divine, something eternal, something far greater than anything this world can offer. Faith is not just a religious word, and it is not merely a feeling that comes and goes depending on your situation. Faith is the key that activates what God has already placed inside you. Without faith, the hidden power within you remains dormant, unused, untouched, not because it is not there, but because it has not been engaged. Many people are waiting for something external to change before they believe. They say, when I see improvement, then I will have faith. When things get better, then I will trust God. But faith does not work that way. Faith begins before you see results. Faith speaks before the evidence appears. Faith moves before the path is clear. Inside of you, God has already deposited strength, authority, and potential. But faith is what brings it into motion. It is like a switch that turns on a light in a dark room. The electricity is already there. The wiring is already in place. But until the switch is activated, the room remains dark. In the same way, God's power is already present within you, but faith is what releases it into your life. Faith requires you to look beyond what is visible. It calls you to rise above your circumstances and believe in what God has said, even when everything around you seems to say the opposite. This is not easy. There will be moments when your situation feels overwhelming, when your emotions try to convince you that nothing will change, when your past experiences whisper doubt into your mind. But faith does not agree with fear. Faith does not submit to doubt. Faith is a decision. It is a choice you make every day to trust God's word more than your feelings, more than your fears, more than your circumstances. It is choosing to believe that what God has placed inside you is greater than anything you are facing on the outside. Think about a seed planted in the ground. When it is first planted, you do not see anything. The soil looks the same. There is no visible sign of growth. But beneath the surface, something is happening. Life is developing. Roots are forming. The process has already begun, even though the evidence is not yet visible. Faith is like that. It believes that something is happening even when nothing can be seen. When you begin to live by faith, you start to speak differently. You stop saying, "I can't," and you begin to say, "God is able." You stop focusing on limitations and begin focusing on possibilities. Your words begin to align with what you believe, and what you believe begins to align with what God has said. But faith is not passive, it is active. It moves, it responds, it steps forward even when the full picture is not clear. It is not reckless, but it is bold. It trusts that God will guide, provide, and sustain every step along the way. There are people who carry great potential within them, but they remain stuck because they are waiting for certainty instead of walking by faith. They want guarantees. They want everything to be clear before they take a step. But faith does not wait for certainty. Faith creates movement in the middle of uncertainty. The hidden power within you responds to faith. When you believe, you begin to access strength you did not know you had. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to move forward with a confidence that is not based on your own ability, but on God's presence within you. Even in difficult moments, faith sustains you. It keeps you steady when everything around you is shaking. It reminds you that your situation is temporary, but God's promises are eternal. It lifts your perspective and helps you see beyond the present moment. There will be times when your faith feels small, times when doubt tries to creep in. But faith does not have to be perfect to be powerful. It simply has to be genuine. Even a small amount of faith, when placed in the hands of God, can begin to activate something extraordinary within your life. You do not need to wait for a special moment to start walking in faith. You can begin right where you are, in your current situation, with your current challenges, with your current level of understanding. You can choose to trust God. And as you do, you will begin to see that what He has already placed inside you was never meant to remain hidden. There is a connection that many people overlook, yet it shapes the direction of their entire life. And that is the connection between their words and their spiritual reality. What you speak is not empty. What you say is not without impact. Your words carry weight, influence, and creative power that reaches deeper than you may realize. From the very beginning, words have held power. God spoke and creation responded. Light came out of darkness. Form came out of emptiness. Life came into existence through the spoken word. And if you are created in His image, then there is something about your words that carries a reflection of that same principle. Not at the same level as God, but still significant, still meaningful, still powerful in shaping your life. Many people speak without awareness. They speak based on what they feel in the moment. They speak out of frustration, fear, doubt, and negativity. And over time, their words begin to form a pattern that influences how they think, how they act, and how they experience life. When someone constantly says, "Nothing ever works for me," or "I will never succeed," they are not just expressing emotion. They are reinforcing a belief system that begins to shape their reality. Your words are like seeds. Every time you speak, you are planting something. Some words plant hope, faith, and strength. Other words plant fear, limitation, and defeat. The question is not whether you are planting seeds. The question is what kind of seeds you are planting on a daily basis. When you begin to understand this, you become more intentional with your speech. You begin to pause before you speak. You begin to ask yourself, is what I am about to say building my faith or weakening it? Is it aligning with God's truth or contradicting it? This awareness begins to change the atmosphere around you and within you. Your spiritual reality is not only shaped by external circumstances, but also by internal agreement. What you consistently say becomes what you begin to believe, and what you believe influences how you live. If your words are filled with doubt, your faith will struggle to grow. If your words are filled with faith, your spirit begins to rise with confidence and expectation. This does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending that problems do not exist. It means choosing to speak in a way that reflects trust in God rather than fear of the situation. It means acknowledging difficulty but not giving it the final word. It means declaring that even in the middle of struggle, God is still working, still present, still able. There is a discipline in controlling your words. It requires self-awareness, patience, and intentional effort. There will be moments when negative thoughts try to push their way into your speech. There will be times when it feels easier to complain than to believe, easier to doubt than to trust. But every moment is an opportunity to choose differently. When you align your words with faith, something begins to shift inside you. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to carry a sense of authority, not because of who you are on your own, but because of the truth you are speaking. Your words start to reinforce your identity as someone who is connected to God, someone who is not defeated, someone who is not without hope. The environment around you also responds to your words. The way you speak influences the people in your life. It affects your relationships, your mindset, and even your decisions. Words filled with faith can bring encouragement, clarity, and direction. Words filled with negativity can create tension, confusion, and discouragement. It is not about speaking perfectly all the time. It is about developing a habit of speaking intentionally. Over time, this habit becomes a lifestyle. You begin to naturally speak in alignment with faith, even in challenging situations. Your first response begins to change. Instead of reacting with fear, you respond with trust. Instead of speaking defeat, you declare possibility. This is how your spiritual reality begins to take shape, not in a single moment, but through consistent patterns of belief and speech. Day by day, word by word, you are shaping the direction of your life. You are either reinforcing limitation or activating the power that God has placed within you. And when your words begin to align with what God has said about you, there is a sense of harmony that develops within your spirit. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and your speech begin to move in the same direction. And in that alignment, there is strength, clarity, and a deeper awareness of the power that has been within you all along. There is a point where belief must move beyond thought and become action. Many people understand that God has placed something powerful within them. They begin to develop faith. They even start speaking differently, but they remain in the same place because they never take the step that releases what is inside of them. The hidden power of God within you is not meant to remain still. It is meant to be expressed, lived out, and demonstrated through action. Action is the bridge between what you believe and what you experience. Without action, faith remains internal. It stays in your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, but it never fully manifests in your life. You can believe something deeply, but if you never move on that belief, it does not change your reality. There is a difference between knowing and doing. Many people know what is right. They know what God has said. They know they have potential. But knowledge alone does not create transformation. It is when you begin to act on that knowledge that things start to shift. Action is what gives life to what is already inside you. Taking action does not always feel comfortable. In fact, most of the time it will challenge you. It will stretch you beyond what feels safe and familiar. It may require you to step into uncertainty uncertainty, to move forward without having every detail figured out. This is where many people hesitate. They wait for perfect conditions, for complete clarity, for absolute confidence. But those things rarely come before action. They often come as a result of action. When you take a step forward in faith, even a small one, something begins to happen. You start to experience the reality of what you believe. Your confidence grows, not because everything becomes easy, but because you see that God is with you in the process. Each step becomes evidence that the power within you is real and active. Action also builds momentum. The first step is often the hardest, but once you take it, the next step becomes easier. You begin to move from hesitation to consistency. What once felt impossible starts to feel achievable. What once felt distant starts to feel within reach. This is how growth happens, not all at once, but step by step. There will be times when your actions do not produce immediate results. Times when you step out in faith and things do not change as quickly as you expected. In those moments, it is easy to become discouraged. It is easy to question whether what you are doing is making a difference. But action is not only about immediate outcomes. It is about alignment. It is about living in a way that reflects what you believe, regardless of how quickly results appear. Consistency in action is what strengthens your character. It develops perseverance, discipline, and resilience. These qualities are essential because the journey of releasing God's power in your life is not always easy. There will be obstacles, there will be resistance, there will be moments of doubt, but consistent action keeps you moving forward even when emotions fluctuate. Another important aspect of action is obedience. Sometimes God may lead you to do things that do not make sense from a human perspective. He may ask you to step out in ways that feel uncomfortable or unfamiliar. In those moments, action becomes an expression of trust. It becomes a way of saying, God, I may not fully understand, but I trust you enough to move. Action also reveals what is truly in your heart. It is easy to say you believe something, but your actions will always reflect your true level of belief. When you begin to act in alignment with faith, it shows that you are not just hearing or speaking truth, you are living it. You do not need to take massive steps all at once. Small, consistent actions can create powerful results over time. A simple decision to move forward, to try again, to step out even when you feel uncertain, can begin to unlock what has been hidden within you. As you continue to take action, you begin to see changes, not only around you, but within you. You become stronger, more confident, more aware of God's presence in your life. You begin to trust yourself in a new way, not because of your own ability, but because you see how God works through your willingness to move. The power within you responds to movement. It responds to willingness. It responds to obedience. And as you continue to act, you begin to realize that what God placed inside you was never meant to stay hidden, but to be released through the steps you choose to take each day.